Hey guys, so like I said yesterday when you watched yesterday's video, we would do lots of practice, and the practice is so much easier than the actual unit circle. So here's my unit circle. You should have it already filled out. And we're just going to refer to this a lot. And because now, once you've done the hard work is getting your questions or getting your unit circle filled out, because now answering the questions will be really easy. Um, so I'm on page 5 in the notes, and it says determine the exact value of the trigonometric function. And it says find the cosine of 30 degrees. And so these questions, you want to use your unit circle. Unit. We did all the hard work of filling out the unit circle, and it's about to pay off with how easy this is about to be. So use your unit circle. And so let's go find 30 degrees. So 30 degrees is in the first quadrant right here. And I'm going to erase some of this other highlighting because I'm going to highlight. This is from yesterday's video. And let me get rid of that. Okay, cool. So I'm going to highlight 30 degrees. Oh, I want to get rid of these two. So 30 degrees is going to be highlighted right here in yellow. That's 45. And 30 degrees is going to be right here. And we want to find the cosine of 30 degrees. And remember, I told you yesterday that the first value that's listed is your cosine. So I'm going to put a little C here, an arrow with the C. And the second value listed is going to be sine. Yes, you want to think of it as x comma y, but you're also going to think of your first value is cosine and the second value is sine. So what that means, the first value here of 30 is root 3 over 2. So the cosine of 30 degrees is going to be whoa, no thank you, root 3 over 2. That's it. That's the answer. Done. Woo, done. Finito. Alrighty. I don't know why that keeps happening though. My box is no longer in my root 3 over 2, so that's no fun. There we go. And so now I'm going to flip from the unit circle that I have on another tab because it'll be easier because this keeps happening. And so now we want to do the sine of 225. So I'm going to go to my unit circle that I have over here. It's the same thing. And 225, we're going to find 225. That's over here. 225 is in the third quadrant, and we want to find the sine. And remember, your sine is the second number listed. It's cosine comma sine. So here's 225. The second number listed is negative root 2 over 2. So the sine of the sine of 225 is going to be, let me get that, negative 2 over 2, negative root 2 over 2. And this was root 3 over 2. Alrighty, and then now we want to do the cosine of negative 120. There are two ways you can do the cosine of negative 120. Negative 120, we can think of it as a positive number. So anytime you want to take a negative number and convert it to a positive in terms of the unit circle, you can take that negative number and you can add 360 to it because 360 is a full rotation, right? 360 degrees is a full rotation of a circle, so I can find the positive version of that number. So negative 120 plus 360, be careful when you're using a calculator, don't forget to hit that negative number, is going to be positive 240. So this question now turns into find the cosine of positive 240 degrees. So the cosine of negative 120 and the cosine of positive 240 are going to have the same answer because they're exactly 360 degrees apart. So I'm going to go and look at the cosine of 240. 240 is right here in this bottom third quadrant. And the cosine is the first number listed. And so the cosine of 240 or the cosine of negative 120 is going to be negative 1/2. It's going to equal negative 1/2. Okay? At any point, please pause and ask questions, but we could do this all day with the degrees that we have. And then this says determine the exact value using radians. So the sine of pi over 6. You could, if you wanted to, you could convert, and that would work. Or you can notice that you now have radians on your unit circle. So pi over 6, I have pi over 6. Pi over 6 is in my first quadrant. It's the same as 30 degrees. So pi over 6 is in my first quadrant. And I want to find the sine of it. Remember, sine is the second number. So the sine of pi over 6 is the second number listed here in this coordinate, and that's 1/2. So the sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. You could have converted pi over 6 to 30 degrees. You won't see me do that because that's too much work. But you could. And then now let's do cosine of 3 pi over 4. So I'm going to go to my unit circle right here. The cosine of 3 pi over 4, we'll first find 3 pi over 4. It's not here. Here it is. 3 pi over 4 is in the second quadrant, and we want the cosine. So the cosine is the x value. Remember, since we're on the left side here of the origin, the cosine is going to be negative, and so it's going to be negative root 2 over 2. So negative square root of 2 divided by 2. And then here's another negative one. Again, we can convert this. You will always see me convert negative radians because I don't like working with negative radians, but you will see me convert them to degrees. So remember to convert. So I'm going to zoom in so I can write easier. But we want to convert. And then, so in order to convert, we did this last week. We are going to take what we were given, negative 5 pi over 3, and we're going to multiply it by 180 over pi. That's the formula. And these pi's are going to cancel out. And then so I'm going to have negative 3 times 180, which is, I'm sorry, negative 5 times 180, which is negative 900. And I'm going to divide that by 3. Negative 900 divided by 3 is going to be negative 300. So I'm actually now going to find the sine of negative 300 degrees. And I told you earlier there was 2 ways to do these negatives. You can find the sine of negative 300. So remember the unit circle, when you have negative degrees, you can go backwards. So then negative 90 will be on the bottom here, and then find negative 300. For me, I'm not comfortable doing that all the time because there's so much already happening on my unit circle that I'm going to go ahead and add 360 to this to get it to be a positive number, just like we did in the example above. We took cosine of negative 120, and in order to make it a positive number that I'm more comfortable with, we added 360. And we add 360 because 360 degrees is a full rotation of a circle. So the sine of negative 300, I'm going to take negative 300 and add 360 to it, though. And then I'm going to get positive 60. So I'm now finding the sine of 60 degrees. And because the sine of negative 300 and the sine of 60 degrees are going to be the same because it's one full circle rotation away from each other. So now I can go find the sine of 60 on my unit circle. Here, 60 degrees up top on my first quadrant, and sine is the second number. So the sine of 60 degrees, or the sine of negative 5 pi over 3, is going to be root 3 over 2. Equals root, over 2. So just a little bit of work, but I hope you agree that this is way quicker once you have your unit circle. And so for me, like if this was a quiz and I said you needed to memorize it, you would see me always draw a mini unit circle. I'd be like, oh, this is root 3 over 2, yada, yada. But you have it right in front of you. So take advantage of the fact that you are learning this unit from home. Pat yourself on the back that you are still doing work right now. This will come back in a second. Pat yourself on the back that you are still doing work right now, and give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Allow yourself to use the unit circle and get those answers correct. We will go through more of these when we have time in class as well.